It is a great honour and a privilege to introduce Jackie Young. We're here in your beautiful home in London. And Jackie, thank you so much for giving me your time, and you have the most remarkable, incredible story as a survivor.
Thank you so much for doing your bit of history keeping. I like this, Les has just said, I'm very pleased to do this documentary on me. I'm very lucky to be talking about it. As I said just a minute ago to Les, that I have a little bit of survivor's guilt because of me surviving when so many wonderful human beings, young babies, old children and old people who sadly didn't make it. And that's the way it goes, unfortunately. But there you go. I'm very fortunate enough to have been brought over by the British, the Royal Air Force in their bomber planes, taken to Windermere with 300 other children. We were the 6th youngest. I'm still in touch with a couple of them. Sadly, some of the children, the babies like myself, were survived, has passed away. And we came to Windermere, stayed there for a little while, and then came down to Sussex into a little place called Bulldogs Bank, which was where the 6 youngest, us, were nurtured by 2 German nurses who looked after us, taught us how to behave normal because we were very, very badly behaved children. And we lost our languages, we lost our country, we lost our family, with about practically, well, you could say we lost everything. And but thankfully I came out of it. I met my beautiful wife in a club. I saw her one day in a club, this beautiful girl who lit up the room, and she lit up my life. And I thought, there's no way that I'm ever going to get this good, beautiful girl, and we've been married now 61 years, and gave us 2 beautiful daughters, 3 grandchildren I got. And all of a sudden this boy, coming back to how I met my wife, I said, there's no way I can get her. So, I met this boy, became friendly with him, and he said, why did you come home and we'll go out together? My father, who was a bookmaker, bought me a car at 17, a big car, and I went round to this friend of mine's house, and sure enough, who opened the door? This beautiful girl. And I knew I was on a good run. So, and the rest is history. 2 years later, we got married, and I'm 61 years later, I'm still married to this beautiful girl. And I've had, far for the tragedy of the past, I've had an amazing, wonderful life, and I have to say I have no regrets, because without what happened, I wouldn't have had this wonderful life.
So Jackie, can we go back to possibly your earliest memories, or how you were adopted? And
well, my earliest memories was that were in my dreams, and after a few months in this place, second place we came to, which was called Weir Courtney, these 2 people came along. Shall I get the photo? And these 2 lovely people, my adopted parents, and one's called, he's affectionately known as Yeti, and my adopted mother was Annie, and they came along in this very big, beautiful Rolls Royce. It wasn't theirs, they chauffeur driven, he apparently rented it, and they took a shine to me, and one day they picked me up and they took me home, and they spoiled me silly. I was the naughtiest boy you could wish to have, but they put up with me for all this time, and I had a wonderful life. I didn't know what it was to want for something. If I wanted it, I got it.
How old were you when they came to you?
Officially they had me when I was about 6, nearly 6. I was fostered by them first and officially adopted at 9 years old. And about 9, a boy came up to me because my parents were very adamant they wouldn't tell me anything. And this boy came up to me and said, "You're adopted, Jackie." I said, I thought he was potty. Went home to my parents, and finally they came clean that I was adopted. But that was as far as it went. Then about 14, 15, maybe 16, I can't recall exactly, around that time, I went to my adopted grandmother, my father's mother, and I was seeing how she was, and all of a sudden she threw that out at me. She said, "Jackie, I don't know if you know, you're Austrian." And I thought to myself, I said, she was about 90. I thought to myself, I think she must be out of the cotton picket head. And sure enough, went home, told my mother what I heard, but didn't tell her who it came from. And eventually they came clean. "Yes, you're Austrian." And again, I wasn't able to ask. One thing, my father, if I was to ask any question, he'd walk out the room. He couldn't handle my questions. And my mother, we used to do, what's it called, say, "Do you want to hurt us? Do you want to hurt us? Stop asking questions," and things like that. "We love you." I said, "I love you, but I've got a past that maybe I should know about." But he wasn't forthcoming. And it was only until I got to just about to marry Lita, the Jewish authorities needed to know that I was Jewish before I could get married in a synagogue. And my mother apparently had the papers to prove that my mother from Vienna was Jewish. And on getting the papers, which she had to produce, I snatched them away. And that's when I found out I would be in a camp for 2 years, in Theresienstadt for 2 years, 8 months.
And when you found out, it was a shock. Must have been a tremendous shock.
Yeah, it's a life changer, and and because I just got married, and then first baby came around, I sort of put my past on hold. I really didn't. I didn't sort of do much about it, but gradually, obviously, as you growing up with your babies, you start thinking yourself backwards. What was I like a baby, and your family and everything, and gradually I felt I needed to go, and primarily it was still in 1982, which I'm nearly now 40. I'm just short, about 35, 38. I go to Israel in 1982 with the Holocaust big reunion, the first in Israel reunion of Holocaust survivors, where in Jerusalem there was a big building, I think it was a hotel or big, and they assigned it to all thousands of
it's the main
big main place, and they asked me, "What's your name?" I told them my name was in Austria, it was Spiegel, and how do you spell it? They asked, but the amount of information they have was nothing like today, where you got so much historical stuff you can find out, but nothing really came of it. And I was invited to go to Bet Theresian, and that's when I really basically first told anybody my past. Most of my friends didn't know that I was my past at all. They didn't know till I was in my 40s, about 45, 46, before anybody knew about my past. I sort of kept it my own secret.
I think at that gathering you wanted to ask if anybody in the audience knew about
I did ask, I did. I went to, while they were doing, testing the microphones at the special meeting when the Prime Minister was there at the time as well, and I said to them, while you're doing your testing, can you call out, and does anybody know Spiegels from Austria or things like that, and but unfortunately they said that we can't do that because everybody would want to come up. But so I said, don't worry. But it was a very bad time for reflection. It was because I came back, you could say, from going to Israel. I met a lot of lovely people, but my pockets were still empty. But over the years of my searching, I have found. And doing a program only a few years ago now, a couple of years ago, called DNA Secrets on for the television, I found out until only a few years ago, I found out my father was born in Lachenbach, which is about 30 miles out of Vienna, near the Hungarian border, and he was Adolf Kornfein. And I've got a family tree up on the wall there which shows a huge amount of people, sadly, didn't make it. A lot of them sadly died.
This is from your family, your father's...
Most of them on the left side, 3/4 of the way down there, they're all my family over there. On the right hand side is my, I'll go over there and I'll show you roughly. From here is my mother's side, and from here all the way down is my father's. And I'm now in touch, because of this DNA Secrets, I'm now in touch, who I thought I was the only one to make it. I'm in touch with people who actually are Kornfeins, one in St. Louis, Missouri, one in Lyon, France, and one in Paris, and one in Israel, but he doesn't seem to want to make any contact. I have had contact with a few, and what's called the DNA Secrets gave me a cousin by marriage, a person called Tony Bateman, but they actually come from what's called the Sussman family, and there are Sussmans here and Kornfeins, and this is apparently in Lachenbach there was a big Jewish community, and the Sussmans and the Kornfeins, their parents got married and their grandparents got married to the Sussmans and Kornfeins. So that's the major connection, and I'm still in touch with them. She lives only about 8 miles away, and it's very comforting to know that somebody connected to me is around, because until this time I thought I was the only one that made it completely. So this is when I found this out from my heritage, the DNA people, I got this made up for me. So it's
so special.
Special, absolutely, very special.
And Jackie, you went back to visit Vienna?
Yes. Yes, I've been back. I went originally when one of our daughters were quite young, on my own, because I was scared that anything happens to me, I don't want nothing to happen to them. Again, came back sort of empty because at that time I couldn't find too many people speaking English, and mostly German. Whatever German and Czech I spoke as a baby, I lost. So
you had the address of your...
I had found the addresses, but again, to look at a building and that's your address, it's not the best thing to have. But and then I went with my wife on another occasion we got a little bit more, and then eventually I found out that as a taxi driver, I was very fortunate to have different people, and believe it or not, I've had some quite famous people from film and what have you, but I've had Simon Wiesenthal in my taxi, I've had Laurence Olivier, Alec Guinness, Sacha Distel, you name it. I've had so many. I've been very fortunate. And then I got, what was I going to say? Now I've forgotten what else I had in my taxi. But I've just amazing things have happened to me that just seems to have fallen into my lap, and I've now forgotten what I was going to say.
You went, but you found eventually. I think you found your roots where you were when you were brought back into England.
Yes, exactly.
And
yes,
you went with your wife.
I've been to. I did ask my adopted father where I was in Sussex, and he eventually told me. I went down there, saw a little police station house, knocked on the door. I described this place because this is part of my dreams. And I said it's a house with a big roundabout and a tree and a big tree in the middle with a baby's like a room in the tree, and it's got pointed trees at the back, terraced, that backs onto a racetrack. And he says, I know the house. He took me to there, and you could say my dreams came into reality, which was just amazing, because lots of my past were dreams. In the first place I used to look out and I used to see stars on the ground. As a 4-year-old I knew what stars you look up into the sky, but these were stars on the ground. I couldn't understand. But then I realised after going to this place, which was called Bulldogs Bank, that this place was high up on the Sussex Downs, and these little stars were actually cottages which were lit up at night. And what is wonderful is that you can not say anything, and yet your dreams, in my case, told me a little bit about my past, only a little bit. Sadly sadly or whatever, I can't remember anything about Theresienstadt. When we went there in the year after, going to Israel in '82, I went there. Prague was a horrible place at that time. It was just it was under the communists, and it was just shabby, and you could see the beauty of the city, but it was sad. And anyway, I went to the file place there. There's a big document station very near the Alter Newer synagogue, and I met this lovely old lady, and she invited me in, and eventually I told her my name. She says, I've got your files in the files, and out they came. And it's hard to believe that I've gone all the way to Prague and to find my files of me, and then I've eventually also found my grandfather, who was then Leopold Spiegel, my grandfather, my mother's father, and his files are there as well, which is just absolutely amazing.
I think this is.
And here's this is the files of me, my number 1236, going from. And I found out that at 9 months old in Vienna, the Gestapo found us kids and sent us to Theresienstadt in September 42. I was 9 months old, but no remembrance at all. There is a propaganda film of a little boy on a rocking horse, and I do believe that the Nazis possibly got me on the rocking horse and I have actually a picture of a little child on a little boy, and I believe that was possibly me. A lot of people who knew me, my cousins, my adopted cousins, they said, that's you, Jack. They phoned me up. And so anyway, it may be, it may not be.
Your mother was deported.
My mother was deported in June of 42. So, like I say, she had all the pain and none of the gain. Because I don't know who put me in the orphanage. I was found in this orphanage, and in September, And sadly, she went in June to a place called Theresienstadt, which sadly people either arrived by train into a gas van, and sadly on arrival to the camp they were dead, or they were taken to an open pit in the forest of Theresienstadt and sadly shot, and that was it.
And you once went to
and I've been to Minsk, Theresienstadt 3 times with myself, my wife, and yes, we've been 3 times there. The last time it was unrecognizable. The first time we went on our own. I had to get permission. I tried, first of all, by the Russians to approach them if I could go. They said no or niet. And I said, a couple of years later, I was still burning to go. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get in touch. I've got the letter even to prove it. I got in touch with Margaret Thatcher at that time. And I wrote a letter to her, and within a few weeks I got a reply, and within about a year later they informed me I have the visa to go to visit this area of Theresienstadt, because it had memorials there but nothing about Jewish or nothing.
This was in Belarus?
In Belarus, yeah. And went there and flew to Moscow, and then we got an internal flight to Belarus and got a taxi ride to the area. I have a picture of me at the first time we went, Lisa and I lit a candle, said a few words, and very upsetting, but what else could it be? And I came home, and it was, but I felt I'd done the right thing. Second time, I was invited with another Viennese boy that I've got in touch through being on the Google and attachments, who also came from Vienna. He was about 4 years. I'm still in touch with him, Kurt, good friend, and he, lovely guy. I met the family as well, and this time it was must have been about 10 years, 12 years ago. We were invited by this Walter Barton from Vienna to go, and we tied plastic sheets with the names of our dearly departed on the trees. And but then it was just like, it's still a forest, and it was grass knee high and what have you. But the last time, a few years ago, we were invited by the Austrian ambassador and the Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, and we got the red carpet treatment. Amazing. And it was then now manicured forest. It was all laid out, beautiful paths, and we were invited. We were like the VIPs.
Did they have any memorial?
And a huge memorial stone.
Mention of Jews that were killed?
It's got no pictures, but just names on this big memorial picture.
And your mother's name is?
And my mother's first name, because there's so many thousands from Vienna that were murdered there, it's only got just their first name. I have a big picture. You want me to get it? I'll show it to you. Can you see it? Can you see it?
It's very special. And that's with the names?
That's with the name that you can't really make out from this, I don't think. But
at least it's a memorial.
And I actually met the person who designed the memorial as well. I'm in touch with him as well. Yeah, he's from Vienna. Yes, well, you can possibly make just a little bit, a few things there. Is that okay enough? And like I say, we went through Minsk. Now, it's a big city, Minsk now. It was destroyed very badly by the Nazis, but we had about 6 or 7 buses we were all in, and all the streets were closed off. The soldiers were saluting us and doing everything, and it was the most amazing. I have it actually on movie as well, a bit of it. It is quite amazing. Let's see what else.
So, Jackie, can I ask, when you found your name, Jonas
Spiegel, yeah.
Did you ever want to include that into the Jackie Young name, or?
Well, cause everybody knows me so many years. I'm 83 now, and I thought of changing back to Jonas Spiegel. And lots of my kids, my daughter sometimes call me Yona, come here, but I think that it's like what you get. If a dog knows you, its name. If you call it another name, you won't take any notice. So I'm not a dog, but I figure I just stick with Jackie.
That's wonderful. And what happened as well, something very interesting. There were the German ladies that looked after you.
Yes, they came looking for me.
They came looking for you.
Yeah, and they thought I started out initially as learning hairdressing, ladies hairdressing, and to cut a long story short, during my mother was still around, my father had passed away, and all of a sudden I found out that these two people were looking for me because my mother came to the front door. She apparently had received a letter from these two people. This was Sophie and Gertrude Dan from Germany, and they wanted to get in touch with me, and so all of a sudden my mother comes through the front door and throws this letter at me. Turns out her brother, she was tempted to throw the letter away. Her brother said keep it, and then she threw it at me, and it turns out they wanted to get in touch with me. To cut a long story short, I got in touch with them, told them, and we met each other. They still lived in the area of where they looked after me as us 6 children, in a place called Bulldogs Bank, and it was an amazing meeting. They told me, showed me pictures that I'd never ever seen of myself as a youngster, because the only pictures I have of myself were when I was about 6 or 7, but these were when I first got here, and it was they were lovely people, and sadly they've obviously passed on now. And
you have, I think, a picture.
I have a picture of, which one do you want? Oh, this is when I first arrived in Windermere, and I don't know, can you actually see that?
It's lovely, huh?
And this is the picture. I'll make it as big as I can. Let's see if I can make it bigger. And this little kid, curly-headed kid, is me. This girl, I'm still, her name was Joanna Milan, but she reverted back to what her German, she was from Germany. Her name is now called Bella Rosenthal. That's her mother, her real mother's name. She also was adopted here. I have met him, but he sadly passed away. And this was the nurse that looked after us.
And this picture was taken in Windermere?
Windermere, yes, yes. And let's see now. This is, now, where are we? I'm going to play this. This is historically very good. This is a woman who was a young girl at the time when she met me, but sadly she's old. And she's talking, she's got a photograph of me, and you'll hear it and you'll see what you think. No, I can't make it bigger. Okay, here we go.
Exciting and intriguing. And there was one little boy called Jackie, he's here, and he was a very interesting and very intelligent little boy. And he asked me one day where did he come from? was mummies get lost. And yours has got lost, really. And I said, but never mind, I'm not the only one. Because it so happened that mine got lost. You see, you just happened to speak to the right person. And I said, it's all right, Jackie, because you're not the only one, because my mummy got lost as well. So both of us have got mummies that have got lost, haven't they? And he was very happy about that, you know, that he wasn't the only one.
There you go. That's historical.
That's amazing, Jackie. That's incredible.
Here's another photo. This is the photo of me, and these are the pilots of the plane, and that's me when I first arrived in Windermere. Cheeky little face.
It's hard to believe that you had just come from Theresienstadt.
Well, we were at this castle which was outside Prague, and it and they obviously, as you can see, fed us and looked after us for the few months before we got here. So like most of the kids, we bounced back to looking, even though we'd gone through a bit of hell, we bounced back to looking normal-ish.
And Jackie, can I just ask you, in Theresienstadt, you were a baby.
We what was called in the baby ward in Theresienstadt.
And there are very few survivors of babies.
Absolutely. This is why I say we were used as like we were used as propaganda, part of the propaganda machine. I've got a picture of where are we? I have. This is the castle we were in. If I can get it up. Here we go. Well, it's like a very large building. They called it a castle, and this is where lots of the survivors from Theresienstadt, because as you know, that a lot of the camps were liberated. They sent a lot of the kids to Theresienstadt from Buchenwald, Auschwitz, and they went there. And this is where they assembled. And
where is the castle? Is it still existing today?
Pardon?
It still survives today, the castle?
Yeah, this is a recent picture. Yes, it's still there. Yeah.
It's near Prague?
It's just outside Prague, yeah. I think it's about 30-40 miles outside Prague. And let me see. I have I'll show you a picture of this is the Bulldogs Bank, and this is us kids. This lady here is a lady called Lady Clark. She was officially a titled lady who gave us Bulldogs Bank, and that is me holding the stuffed thing. Hurt my knee as well, but there you go. As you can see, I had lovely curly hair, which sadly somehow dissipated. And these are there's Sophie Dan, one of the nurses. There was quite a few nurses that looked after us while we were there. Well, I have to say that, you know, one baby was a nightmare. They had 6 nightmares. To look after. We were scary kids. We were really. They told us we were very, very scary. What else have we got? I've got a movie here somewhere. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Now I'll show you. This is another historical thing. This is from a program called 60 Minutes, which I captured. You'll see Theresienstadt, and then you'll see a little boy on this rocking horse, and they do believe it was me. Here we go.
Jewish town, to invite in the International Red Cross for an inspection, and to make this propaganda film showing what a nice place it was. A beautification plan was implemented immediately. They painted buildings, they planted flowers and opened stores. They put up a bandstand in the town square. Helga Kinski watched it all unfold.
They built a kindergarten.
You'll see it in a minute. Here I am.
They opened a coffee shop, and they chose the people who sit there and listen to.
So that's
when the Red Cross came.
Well, no, that's that particular thing. Possibly exactly when the Red Cross came, I don't know. But I have the full 60-minute program, but that goes on for about nearly an hour.
On the rocking horse.
And the rocking horse. I actually took a snippet from the 60 minutes as well. Yeah, I don't know if 60 minutes mind, but I haven't told.
It's historic. It's really historic.
And this is a picture of me when my adopted parents decided to take a photo. I was probably about six and a half, and as you can see, I've at that time you can see I'm really fully recouped from all the problems physically. Mentally, I wouldn't go that far. And let's see what other photos. This is me on my bar mitzvah with my parents. That's Annie and that's Yenny. They called him affectionately Yenny because his name from Poland, Russia, was Janowski. So they called him Yenny.
And you remember your bar mitzvah?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Who could forget? 6 years I was learning it. 7 years I was learning my bar mitzvah. Yeah.
And Jackie, when you had good friends at school,
Yeah, I had the regular. I was a regular North London kid from Golders Green area. I lived only a couple of miles from where you in Golders Green. As far as I knew, my past. Well, I had no recollection of my past. I was a North London Jewish kid.
Can I ask, how did that little boy know that you were adopted when he came up to you?
Well, my friend downstairs, Jewish boy, who, believe it or not, was born on the same day, the same year, downstairs, 18th of the 12th, 1941. He was born 18. We met. He was my first friend. He said everybody knew. So what I think is my mother must have gone to the school, told them my past, told them not to say anything. But you know, like Chinese whispers, they get out. So unfortunately that's what happened.
And Jackie, can I ask you, when you found out that you were adopted,
these are the people that looked after me, they loved me, and I loved them.
Did it make any difference?
No, not at all.
Adopted parents?
The significance of being adopted is not, what it is when you're a bit older. I had no reason. I knew my mother and father loved me. Like I say, they were very big doting parents. They were just whatever Jackie wanted, Jackie got, basically.
And the extended family were also very loving?
No. They were offish. They saw my mother and father's point of view, not my point of view. They would accuse me, why are you asking these guys? They're looking after you, they're giving you everything you want. It was emotional blackmail type thing. What are you asking for? Type thing. And my grandparents, my adopted grandparents, they were not hostile, but they weren't loving, like a grandparent will be to today, today or yesteryears. But they probably looked at me as a foreign little kid, and who can blame them? They'd just been after the war. Germans, Austrians were the Nazis. But I used to hear statements in Golders Green when we were walking with my mum sometimes, and they were talking, and my mother must have told them about me, and they said, "Well, what did they expect? They were Germans, they were Austrians. They didn't. They got what they got. They weren't very sympathetic Jewish people at that time. They didn't really understand." Looking historically, my 600 years of history in Vienna, similar in Germany, in Prague, and what have you. What are they going to think themselves other than where they come from? You just can't believe their attitude they were very unsympathetic to the Jewish people of Germany and Austria. They figured they did, some of them almost said they deserve what they got. And it's hard to, but I heard these conversations, so I know I'm not telling lies. As a kid, I used to hear it. and unfortunately, you know, humanity at that time, they didn't have Google, they couldn't check it out, and you know. Well, but when you go to Prague and you see the Altenur synagogue, it's there 600-700 years old, and a big Jewish community. And in Vienna there was, I don't know, about 70-80 synagogues, and in Germany as well. You know, we were a big deal in Europe before the war. Jews were.
It was the most amazing community.
Yes, absolutely, and sadly decimated, totally decimated. Now let me see now what we got here. Here's this beautiful girl that I met, saw in this club in the Autor, as you can see, and
your wife and your parents, they got on well? They got on.
Initially, I have to tell you, my wife's friends for a long time got messages from their daughter, who said she knew my wife, my wife then, who wasn't my wife. She said they're out for your money. So my mother and father became quite hostile to Lita, and basically they said, you're not going to marry her because you know, we've heard bad things about her. Well, anyway, it went through a bit of a bad patch, but eventually they realised they'd made a big mistake, and they were sorry that they even went down that street. Yeah, it was a very bad deal. It was a very bad deal. And right, so now I'm going to show you the wall from Vienna. Let's see if I can make this bigger. No. Okay, here we go. This is my grandson, Omar. And these are the 60,000 Viennese Jews who sadly were murdered. And we went to the opening day of this this commemoration. It was very, very sad. And this is the tablet where I found my mother's name on it. And you can see there you can see Elsa Spiegel, 1909. A friend of mine, Austrian friend, woman, teacher, who I've met for quite a few years, talking about my past. She gave me this little angel to put, so I've decided to put it there. Elsa Spiegel, 1909. You got everything, Lita?
So that's the memorial.
It's a very big statement. It took me.
It must be very emotional for you to see it.
Very emotional, very emotional. Yeah, it's a tragedy. It's to have such a big community of Jewish, Austrian, Viennese guys. You know, they were hard-working guys, ordinary guys, and like in Germany and all over Europe, and they decided to pick on Jews. We were easy picking, weren't we?
And Jackie, when you went to Vienna, and it's the most beautiful, I've been there.
Yes.
It's the most beautiful city.
Yes.
And they had such incredible, magnificent shuls. The synagogues were, and in Kristallnacht, every shul except for the main one, because it was
the main temple
in a courtyard.
Yes, because they were scared that the next door would catch fire as well.
But they were all destroyed in Kristallnacht.
And where I was in an orphanage in what's called the Temple Gas, which was called the Mahapa Gas at that time, was the famous temple, very big temple shul there, very big, opposite the orphanage where I was. It's sad. Yeah, they eradicated so much. I think the Austrian people and Europe lost an awful lot by killing so many people, without a doubt. They lost well, I don't have to go name names, but we did make a big statement. For a small community, pro-rata to Europe, we made a big statement.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think the world has lost an awful lot.
There is a very special monument in the centre of Vienna.
Absolutely, yeah. It took them a long time to realise they were not a victim. They invited Hitler in with open arms.
You see the pictures.
But then again, not that I'm getting off a hook, but from 33 to 39, they had indoctrination to get to the stage. You know, it's like other politicians who I won't name, who have been telling lies, and you tell a lie long enough, it starts becoming the truth. And basically, I think they ostracized them. You couldn't go to a cinema, have a dog, a radio. You could only do a certain amount of shopping at a certain time. You were isolated, and eventually the isolation worked. And I think that's what worked. It's sad. Your best pal next door to you became your enemy, and it's happening these days today. You know, where we were living in, dare I say, la la land, believing that the rest of the world was okay with us, of knowing the Holocaust and what have you, and now they're making out what they're going through it's terrible what the Middle East is going through now, and Ukraine is going through, and the other parts of the world, Sudan. They can't tell about these misplaced people in Gaza, a few hundreds of thousands moving here and there. I said, why don't you talk about Sudan? You know, there's only 10 or 12 million being moved out of the country, you know. But it seems there's silence about other places. It's like picking on Jews is the easiest picking going. That's what I say. You know, while they're picking on us, they're leaving everybody alone.
Jackie, that's an amazing statement, but it's true.
It is true. We're easy pickings. We have been for thousands of years. We're the killers of Christ, and although we weren't the governors, the Romans were. They'd done the job, but the lie came out, and we've been held responsible since time immemorial.
And Jackie, if I can ask, what message do you impart to your children, your grandchildren, and to the future generations?
I think we should not hate. We should definitely not hate. Hate is a negative thing, and it perpetuates the problem. We should not necessarily love, but we have understanding, empathy, and we should take people as they are, not because of the label that comes with them, whether they be Muslim, Christian, or whatever. There's good people out there, more good. I personally, there's a lot more good than bad, but unfortunately the bad make the headlines.
It's such a wonderful message.
You're welcome.
So Jackie, I want to thank you. I'm so grateful to you.
You're welcome.
It's been such an honor and a privilege to be here.
I'm very pleased that you came, and you documented what, and hopefully for posterity it'll go on.
This is a book lost and waiting to be found.
This was only a few months ago.
It was finished, completed. It took about a year to do.
And you had pictures
people came
inside.
here and interviewed me like yourself, and loads of pictures. Let's go to... This is me, that is me. This was an American reporter, and there's Bella Rosenthal over there.
And Jackie, if you would have known about this when you were growing up, do you think it would have made a big difference?
Absolutely. Well, had my parents been able to be forthcoming about my past, as opposed to sort of creating a wedge, it did actually. This is where Courtney, where the older children were. And this is the Gertrude and Sophie Dam. There's Gertrude, and there's Sophie. And there's my father-in-law, Lita, our young daughters, two young, Nicole and Elisa. There's Millie, my wife's mother, and this is Lady Clark. No, Judith. Judith and her husband, who was nearby.
It must have been very emotional when you went.
I think our whole lives have been emotional.
It could have gone the other way and we could have said, that's it, we can't.
Yeah.
You know, because she's a very powerful woman, his
Yeah.
mother.
This is my birth certificate. Yes, this is my birth certificate. Yeah, she was a very powerful lady, and she saw it her way. Occasionally she would say, I understand, but you know, it was only for a very split second. And eventually she'd speak to somebody locally, because she was a very well-known girl in Golders Green, my mother, and they would say, you're right and I'm wrong.
But Jackie, you said something very special to her once. You said, if it would have been you, would have liked to have been remembered?
Well, this is it. I said, look, if God forbid it being you, would you want me to not remember you? But occasionally she would come round.
But she agreed with you.
Agreed with me. The next day she'd go back again and say, no, you're wrong, I'm right. She was very, very hard to accept that they couldn't.
I think they were nervous they were going to lose you.
Yeah, I think they were very insecure. They figured that once I find out that I'm adopted and I'm this and past, I'm going to get my suitcase and walk out. Well, it was also going to happen, but they were very insecure about telling me. That was their safety line, but not telling me. But had they told me in the forthcoming, I think we could have had a much better relationship. Although I did have a good relationship with. Yes? Yeah. That's the truth.
If we could have you both together, this is so special.
Yes.
So how many years you been married?
It's only 61 years. How she's put up with me for 61 years, I'll never know.
And can I ask, what is the secret of your successful and happy marriage?
To never hold a grudge too long and to sort it out. Sometimes in the bedroom and sometimes there, buying things.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you both very, very much.
Anyway.
Okay, you're welcome.
Every time we think that's it, finished,
It's over.
something else turns up, and so it carries on.
It's wonderful.
So.
Well, we're together again. This
Jackie,
is my interview.
I am so grateful to you. You are just incredible. Really, you are somebody we should all strive to emulate.
Don't build me so high.
No,
it's
but
a big
it's true.
fall.
You've been through so much, and you're so positive. It's incredible how you look at life as the glass not half empty but half full.
More than
that even.
Yeah.
And how when you found out that your parents were really your adopted parents, you still loved them, you forgave them, I think you are somebody that we can learn so much from and admire. We really do admire you.
I'm sure there's lots of guys out there. I'm a very, like I say, for a bad beginning, I have a very good stuff that happened to me after.
I think you're very grateful for...
Yeah, very, very lucky guy, very lucky, more than lucky I am.
And I think what's also amazing with what happened to you in Theresienstadt.
Yes.
So many of the children were sent to Auschwitz and very, very few survived. You're one of the very few survivors.
Theresienstadt was a holding camp, primarily just a stop-off camp but then it's still 33,000 plus died in Theresienstadt, either from hunger, committing suicide, or a disease. In fact, the place that the baby ward that I was in, apparently, when we did go to Theresienstadt, they said they had to burn that down because I think it was very, riddled with, different diseases in it or something. They just, I don't know what the reason, but I wanted to find the baby ward, but they said it had been burnt down.
Well, Jackie, I'm so grateful to you. You should just be well.
Lovely meeting
have
you.
Mazel Brocha.
And you have a
till
safe journey back
120.
to Israel.
Thank you very much, Jackie. It's been such an honor and a privilege.
It's been a privilege to talk.